What's up, soldiers? Welcome back to another video. Season 4 of Call of Duty Mobile is finally here, and with it, we've got a ton of balance changes that have completely shaken up the meta. Today, we're breaking down the top 10 best guns in COD Mobile Season 4, going over everything you need to know about what's dominating right now, from insane close-range SMGs to hard-hitting ARs, and even some surprise picks that are starting to rise up the ranks. With League play now in the game, having the right loadout matters more than ever. So if you're trying to rank up faster and win more gunfights, this is definitely a video you don't want to miss. Make sure to drop a like if you enjoy this kind of content. All right, let's get into it. Moving on to number 10, we've got the HVK. Some of you guys might have noticed it's dropped a bit from where it was last season, and that mostly comes down to two things: the rise of stronger alternatives and the fact that it's always been a bit of a niche pick compared to the rest of the list. The biggest drawback is still the magazine size. For a fast-firing assault rifle, you burn through ammo really quickly, which can put you in tough spots, especially in multi-kill situations. That being said, the strengths are still very much there. You've got super consistent 3-tap potential, and even the ability to 2-tap to the head if your aim is locked in. It's an incredibly lethal weapon in the hands of a precise player, but definitely one of the harder guns to use effectively. And there's just something about the base iron sights. They're not bad, but they feel a little off compared to some of the cleaner blueprints, which can make a difference in higher-level gunfights. Moving on to number 9, we've got the Ram 7. This one's dropped a bit as well, not because it got nerfed, but just because other weapons got buffed and started creeping up the rankings. The Ram 7 is still one of the best flex ARs in the game. It's solid at basically every range, has very manageable recoil, and great mobility for an AR. There's really no situation where you're at a huge disadvantage using it. The issue is, there's also no range where it truly dominates. It's good everywhere, but not the best anywhere, and that's ultimately why it lands at number 9. That being said, the base iron sights feel great, which makes this an awesome option for free-to-play players. It's just a super reliable, plug-and-play weapon no matter what mode you're in. At number 8, we've got the XM4 and the Groza. These two are honestly pretty interchangeable depending on your playstyle. The XM4 is going to be your more accurate, stable option, while the Groza gives you slightly better 3-tap consistency. The Groza got a pretty big buff recently, and in my opinion, it's still one of the most underrated guns in the entire game. A lot of people just don't use it because of its old reputation, but it absolutely fries right now. As for the XM4, if you watch competitive Call of Duty Mobile, you've probably seen it everywhere. A big reason for that is it doesn't rely on restricted attachments, which makes it super viable in comp rule sets. It's another great flex AR with 3-tap potential when you're hitting upper body shots, and overall just insanely consistent. Doesn't matter what map you're on, the XM4 is always going to be a solid pick. Moving up a couple spots, we've got the DRH, which actually got some really nice buffs this season. First off, the Marksman barrel got some solid mobility improvements, making it way more viable than before. Previously, most players were sticking to the Ranger barrel, but now you've actually got options depending on your playstyle. On top of that, the OTM mag got a buff to the stomach damage multiplier. The DRH was already one of the most consistent 3-tap ARs in the game, and now it's even more reliable. I don't know if these buffs alone push it into the top 5 just yet, but it's definitely trending upward. It's easy to use, has great base irons, and we could definitely see it become more common again, especially if some of the top-tier guns catch a nerf. Following that, we've got two SMGs that are honestly pretty interchangeable right now: the VMP and the Switchblade. The SMG meta is kind of weird at the moment because it looks very different in ranked compared to competitive, but it's slowly starting to align. Both of these are top-tier close-range options, but they shine in different ways. The Switchblade has been way more popular in competitive play, mainly because of its superior strafe speed and much better hipfire accuracy. Those are two things that matter a lot at higher levels of play, but if you're in ranked or lower SBMM lobbies where raw time to kill matters more, the VMP can absolutely take over. It's got a faster fire rate and one of the quickest TTKs up close. Both guns also have really clean base iron sights, so you don't need a mythic to make them viable. In fact, a lot of players prefer how the base versions feel. At number 5 is the PP19 Bison. Its biggest selling point is the mag size. You've got a massive default mag, which means you can take multiple fights back-to-back without constantly worrying about reloading. For aggressive players or objective modes, that's a huge advantage. Performance-wise, the Bison is all about consistency. It's got very manageable recoil, easy-to-control spray, and a forgiving damage profile. You're not going to get the fastest time to kill in the game, but you are going to win a lot of fights just by staying on target. Mobility is solid, not the fastest SMG out there, but definitely good enough to keep up with most playstyles. Where it really shines is in those close to mid-range fights where you can just keep firing and outlast your opponent. Now, coming in at number 4, we've got a weapon that has absolutely skyrocketed up the list, the QQ9. QQ9 with the 10mm mag has completely taken over the SMG meta in Call of Duty Mobile competitive, and it's starting to dominate ranked as well. We touched on this a couple seasons ago, but the buffs to the 10mm magazine completely changed this gun. It massively improves the 3-tap consistency and gives it one of the fastest 3-shot kill times out of any SMG right now. On top of that, you're getting insane mobility, very manageable recoil, and an insane headshot multiplier that lets you extend that 3-tap range way farther than you'd expect. There are genuinely situations where you'll see the QQ9 outgun ARs at 20, 30, even pushing 40 meters in some cases, which is just ridiculous for an SMG. You've got a faster fire rate, significantly better mobility, and a ton of variance with really clean iron sights. Altogether, those advantages make it much easier to justify running despite the small mag, and it's a huge reason why it's sitting this high on the list right now. After that, at number 3, we've once again got the easiest to use 2-tap weapon in the game, the Odin. Now, if you watch a lot of competitive Call of Duty Mobile, you've probably noticed the Odin doesn't show up that often. A big reason for that is certain high-impact barrels are restricted, and at the highest level, something like the Type 63 tends to be the more optimal pick. But the reason the Odin ranks higher on this list comes down to accessibility and ease of use. You don't need to be running a complex multi-finger setup to get value out of it. It's super straightforward and still incredibly consistent when it comes to that 2-tap potential. It also got a nice buff to the marksman barrel last season, specifically improving bullet speed. That makes it much more reliable in longer range engagements, where previously you might have felt a bit of inconsistency. That said, you do need to account for the recoil. The Odin has pretty heavy vertical kick compared to other options, so running attachments like the marksman barrel becomes even more important now to give you more value than they did before. Coming in at number 2, this gun is still an absolute force to be reckoned with, just not quite as dominant as it was in previous seasons. After a few nerfs to it and buffs to other weapons, it's finally been brought back down to earth a little bit. We've got the USS-9, which still holds its spot as the best all-around SMG in Call of Duty Mobile. I think the GKS is starting to challenge it in certain scenarios, but one of the biggest advantages the USS-9 has is just how ridiculously easy it is to use. This thing has basically zero recoil, which makes it insanely consistent in gunfights. Even after the nerfs to the damage mag, the USS-9 with 50 rounds is still a monster. Having 50 bullets on a slower-firing, high-damage SMG is honestly kind of broken. It gives you so much room for error and lets you take multiple fights without worrying about reloading. Personally, I wouldn't mind seeing one more nerf just to push it completely out of the top 10, but realistically, that's probably not happening anytime soon. And finally, taking the number 1 spot, even after catching a nerf this season, we've got the SO14. Now, I was honestly happy to see this thing get toned down a bit, but not enough to knock it off the top. It's still just that good. There were 2 main nerfs. First, the 50-round mag got a reduction to its headshot multiplier, from 2.0 down to 2.9 on the marksman setup. That might not sound huge, but it actually is. It means the SO14 can no longer one-tap to the head in the second damage range, which was easily one of its most broken strengths. The second nerf hit the stomach multiplier. Practically speaking, this mainly affects those rare situations where you land 2 stomach shots at range. It won't consistently 2-tap anymore, but let's be real, that's not something that happens often enough to drastically change the gun's overall performance. But even with that, the SO14 still brings a crazy combination of SMG-like mobility and marksman rifle lethality. It might not be the undisputed long-range king anymore, but its mobility and versatility are what keep it at the top. And that's going to wrap up our top 10 best guns in Call of Duty Mobile for Season 4. As always, the meta is constantly evolving, so even if your favorite weapon didn't make the list, it doesn't mean it's not viable. A lot of these rankings come down to playstyle, accuracy, and how comfortable you are with each gun. If you guys enjoyed the video or found it helpful, make sure to drop a like. It really helps out the channel. And subscribe if you haven't already so you don't miss future updates, especially with League play now in the game. Let me know down in the comments what your top 3 guns are right now, and if there's anything you think should have been higher or lower on the list. Appreciate you guys for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. Stay tuned and stay victorious. God bless you.